At once, and we begin with David Oppenheim on your right against Kenny Tran. In the round of 16, each player starts with 80,000 in chips. Tran with pocket queens calls.
They don't all start with hands this good, however.
2,200.
Tran is the reigning champion at the World Series of Poker heads-up event.
Oppenheim Jack 6. He raises to 3,400. And Kenny calls.
Looks like Oppenheim wants to force the action early here. Trying to pick off weak limps on the button.
King high flop.
4,500.
Oppenheim bets 4,500.
He's flopped complete air here, but he's got control of the pot, and he's firing the continuation bet, hoping the Tran had not connected.
Kenny calls.
One overcard to the queens out there.
Turn pairs the board, but Oppenheim drawing dead.
Check.
He checks.
Won't fire the second barrel, and Tran will cautiously check behind him.
4 clubs on the river, irrelevant.
Check.
Dave shuts it down, and now Kenny can be comfortable with this bet.
He bets 10,000. And David folds. Pot goes to Tran. Tran and David Oppenheim. Stacks basically even. Tran with 10 trace suited. He raises to 3,000. David with 10-7 suited.
People who play against Oppenheim talk about the intensity of his stare. You feel like he's looking right through your soul.
He calls. Oppenheim pairs his 7 on the flop and checks.
Complete air for Kenny Tran here.
Kenny bets 4,000.
Continuation betting 2/3 the pot.
David calls. Trip 7s for Oppenheim, where David has checked the turn.
Sneaky's trying to get Tran to bet this.
Kenny bets 9,000.
David's selling weakness here. He's not worried at all.
And David calls.
David may try to get even more out of Kenny. He knows that Kenny's a player that's capable of firing 3 barrels.
6 of spades on the river. Oppenheim checks.
Only real concern for a hand like David's is maybe a 9-10 at this point.
Kenny bets 20,000.
David makes the $20,000 call.
Said raise.
He said raise, yeah. And raises.
David raises to 43,000.
23 more.
This is where the man known as Sick Call is reaching for a sick bag. Little bit of theatrics to try to give off the idea that he folded a real hand here.
Easy lay down for Kenny. Oppenheim.
Who your favorite person in Doyle room?
Favorite person in Doyle's room?
I'm talking about in Bobby room. I mean, the game at the...
In the game I played?
yeah, it's a Bobby.
I like David Benjamin probably the most.
Lines 1,500 and 3,000.
I'm closest with David Benjamin.
I got it.
Kenny with 8 deuce, he calls. Oppenheim with 7-5 checks.
I thought you and Phil pretty tight.
Yeah, Phil and I are tight.
Oppenheim pairs his 7 on the flop and checks. Kenny bets 4,500.
He is fearless, isn't he, Craig? Trying to take advantage of position here.
You mentioned Oppenheim's stare earlier, Ali. They've both got pretty good stares.
Yeah, you're not going to pick up too much out of these two guys.
After David's call, 6 of clubs on the turn.
Kenny shutting it down, not firing a second barrel. We saw him do that earlier and pay a hefty price.
Check, check brings the jack on the river. Oppenheim 7 still best. He bets 6,000. And Kenny wants no part of it. David takes the pot. Across the table, David Oppenheim.
Possible.
You see the blinds at 2 and 4,000. Relentless, putting pressure on players to not sit back and wait for hands, but rather get involved.
Jack 7 for Kenny. He raises to 10,000. David with Jack 9. He calls.
David's got Kenny dominated heading to the flop here.
Ace high flop. David checks.
Kenny's got control of the pot and position. His pre-flop raise makes it easier for him to represent an ace or a king here.
Kenny bets 13,000. David mucks his hand. Kenny picks up 10,000 in chips, and now we are back to all even.
80,000 in chips apiece. Each player carries all the chips they win from the previous rounds with them to the following rounds.
Oppenheim not really even supposed to be here. He got in as an alternate, but alternates have had great success here.
You didn't see that card.
He didn't have a chance to get too nervous before he knew it. He was in the event.
David with 7-4. He limps in. Tran with ace-jack. He checks.
Sometimes a pause like that will give away information to an opponent. They may put you on a somewhat big hand.
Trip aces on the flop for Tran. He checks again.
Oppenheim quickly checking behind him there.
8 of clubs on the turn.
Yeah, David might smell something fishy here after that pause pre-flop by Tran.
Kenny bets 6,000 and David calls.
I stand corrected. It looks like David is going to try to take this thing away.
Tray of spades on the river.
We know he's not calling with 7 high.
Kenny bets 15,000.
David's not going to like this. He probably thought Kenny would check the river and he could steal the pot on the end. Now it's a whole different story. He'd have to put in a raise, and he's not willing to do that.
Tran takes the pot. Oppenheim in a unique situation from the other competitor.
Just didn't work out.
He got stuck with me. Ace-10 for Tran. He raises to 10,000. 7-4 for David.
He just cost himself quite a bit of money playing this hand, and he's not going to give up on it just yet, is he?
He raises to 24,000. Back at table 4, Kenny had called Oppenheim's pre-flop re-raise. David paired his 7 on the flop and now bets 17,000.
Big pot poker taking place now between these heavyweights. Kenny has not connected with this board whatsoever.
Tran mucks his hand. David now with a 3-2 chip lead.
So hard to let that go there.
Ace-queen.
Ace-queen I go on before flop.
Over a 25,000 chip lead for Oppenheim.
I told you last time.
I told you my hand too.
Huh?
I told you my hand too.
David with king-jack.
If I told you mine, you told you yours.
You didn't lie the first time, right?
He raises to 11,000.
What do you mean I didn't lie in the first time? Come on.
I don't want to say this one.
Come on.
I'll tell you this one. That's right. The camera.
I mean,
We're friends. You can't lie to me when we're on camera.
yeah.
Camera used to work as a lie deterrent. Not so much anymore. People are desensitized.
Ace-deuce suited for Kenny.
David has raised it up on the button.
Deuce suited for Kenny.
David has raised it up on the button. And he's
He raises to 30,000.
29,000.
These guys trading blows in just about every pot now. No small ball here.
Contemplation time for Oppenheim. He calls.
Makes the call.
This is a big call, Craig. 60,000 in the pot.
Tran pairs his deuce on the flop.
That's a pretty ragged board for David Oppenheim.
Kenny goes all
I'm
in.
glad I didn't shove it before. Would have had to call, and I'm in bad shape. So, with all that said, I'm folding. 2 jacks.
David cuts his losses and folds. Line's now at 3 and 6,000 for Kenny Tran and David Oppenheim. Oppenheim has regained the chip lead. Kenny with jack 3. He raises to 18,000. David with King Jack.
How much you have, Kenny? Just that?
They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Craig, and apparently Jack 3 looks a
Molly.
little different to Kenny than it does to me.
Kenny trains it on the button.
David puts Kenny all in.
And he lays it down. David takes the pot.
As Tran lays down his hand queen,
One time, give me like
goes all in.
2 10s. If I have a pair, I'm calling. I have a pair. I call.
David with pocket fours, and he calls.
You have it?
King queen off against 2 4s.
You want side bet?
Who do you like?
I like mine.
Kenny immediately, Ollie, going to the side bet.
I have a weird feeling about this that I'm not going to win it.
I think Jack 10-5.
These guys always want a little extra action on things, don't they?
Jack deuce,
One
8
time.
rainbow.
9 of hearts.
Face a heart.
Comes a jack. I know I'm gonna.
Kenny Tran looking for paint.
Turn pairs the
That's the
board,
one
no
pair.
help to Kenny. He's down to the
One
river.
pair I didn't care.
A really good card for you.
Come on, baby. One time.
Tran has 6 outs
Yeah,
to
we
double
still
up and
play
stay
9
alive.
hands. Relax. I already know. King space.
Here's the river. Three. It's an eye.
David's fours hold up. He moves into the quarterfinals. Tran tastes defeat.
By far the toughest person I've played in the Commerce end.